My name's Adele Onyango, and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to episode 351 of Legally Clueless, and this is what's coming up.
I used to hate my African name, by the way, for the longest time. I used to not like Akinyi. I have people who have questioned me, and it still happens a lot of times. Like, I go to places and I say, I am Akinyi Onyach, and they ask me, what is your English name? And now that statement even makes me cringe. Like, I'm not English, so why should I have an English name, you know? I met this guy who was a producer. We fell in love, and then we created a lot of music. After I quit work, went and tried to cohabit with my producer lover. My grandmother was a singer. I never met her, and I'm named after her, and she used to sing a lot in the church. Her spirit and her energy is very potent in me, in how I move, in how I do my things, in how I see the earth, how I see the world. Crazy, but we are really in communication, me and her, a lot. I can't even explain it. Like, she's on my altar and we chill a lot, we talk a lot, she guides me a lot. Her energy, I feel her a lot. Some things are ancestral. Where I come from, it's called Juogi. Juogi is like spirits, is I don't know how to explain it, but it's like a possession.
That is Nile Dawta's story. I hope I'm pronouncing it right because it spells D-A-W-T-A, Dawta. I feel like I'm not saying it with enough swag. But her story is super inspiring, and it's coming your way a little later in this episode. Welcome to the family. If this is your first time listening, you are appreciated, and you've picked an incredible episode to kick off your Legally Clueless journey. And of course, our shows are so many. This one goes out every single Monday and has different Africans come through and share their stories. On Wednesdays, it's just you and I on the Midweek Teas, and I share things that I feel have helped me on my healing journey and I feel could help you too. Also on Wednesdays, our newsletter goes out, so make sure you sign up for it on our website, linked in the show notes. And then on Thursday this week, a brand new season of For Mannerless Women starts, both here, our audio space, and on our YouTube channel. So make sure you sign up, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's linked in the show notes. I can't wait for you to see who is in episode 1. It's definitely one of the most powerful conversations I have had yet. If you are an African woman on a journey of releasing shame from your life and liberating yourself, you're gonna love that episode. So yeah, season 3 starts this Thursday. I'm very excited about that. And on Fridays, we have Ask a Therapist. So as you can see, it's a full house here, and we're all about connecting with each other through our stories and just intentionally walking our healing journeys. If you are an OG member, I will never stop saying this. I truly appreciate you. So before we jump into Nile Dawta's story, I do want to shout out everybody who drops comments on our episodes, and just thank you for taking the time to type out your feelings, your encouragement. I love it. I want to address and remind those who are probably new to the Legally Clueless space exactly what we stand for. Last week, we got a message, or a comment rather, from Irene Muikali, who was feeling a bit conflicted, I feel, about last week's story, saying she doesn't know how she felt about it. So Irene was kind of sharing a sentiment, wondering what the story was supposed to accomplish. So let me break it down for you. Okay? Every single storyteller who comes on the platform does an incredible thing. They open up and agree to be vulnerable with you and I. That is incredible, and not many of us have the courage to do that. That's one. Number 2, the stories shared are of lived experiences. They're not a manual. They are not setting out on a performative journey. It's people allowing us into chapters of their lives. So some of the stories are happening as the person is sharing. Some happened a long time but are unresolved. Some may be resolved or not yet. So don't think about this as though you're watching a series. No, you are being very graciously allowed into somebody's lived experience. And why I think this is so important, to the point that a huge chunk of our network and the space is built on that, is I don't think we have enough empathy in this world. I don't think we have enough expansion to allow for many truths to sit besides each other. And I think how we achieve that expansion and that empathy is through stories. For example, before we got all of our incredible legally clueless correspondents who go out and record our stories, I did a lot of the recordings. It expanded me. I on many occasions had to sit opposite people whose truths were very different from mine, and I had to afford them grace and respect. By the end of the recordings, I had expanded. I had learned something I didn't know. And the funny thing is, whenever we're confronted with a truth that is different from ours, we think it's going to threaten ours. What happened to me was the complete opposite. In understanding that this world is made of different people who are walking around with different truths, it made me more confident in my own truth. Yeah, I just never felt threatened. And so the number one important person on this show is a storyteller, because you know it just as I do. It is not easy to open up and let in people to different chapters of your life. What I hope hearing all of these stories does for you and I is bring back empathy that I feel like the world needs more of. I hope it expands you and I. And I also hope it makes us less judgmental, even of the things we don't understand. Yeah, but sending you love and thanks for sharing your sentiments. And I encourage you to keep doing that. This is what this community is about: openness and vulnerability. Find a way this week to bring back empathy and erase judgment. You know what I mean? Okay, let's jump into 100 African stories. So you're about to meet Nile Dawta, who's just, her energy is everything. Singer, songwriter, producer, gender activist, or should I say artivist. And her journey takes us through her love for reggae, bold decisions, and even spirituality. 100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
My name is Nile Dawta, and I like to say representing for all the reggae lovers and the reggae dadas. I'm a singer, songwriter, producer, a DJ, and also a gender activist. So by gender activist, it means I combine my work, my art, for gender activism. Born and raised in Shauri Moyo, Eastlands area. The origins are from Namlolwe, which is famously known as Lake Victoria. I call myself the Nile Dawta because I originate from the source of the Nile, which is Lake Victoria, and my ancestors also originated from these settings. So I'm a Nile Dawta, but my official names are Akinyi Onyach. I have an English name, but I'm not English, so I'm not going to use it. Moving on. I stopped using my English name not so long ago, actually. Probably maybe in the last 3 years maybe. And it's funny because I love it, by the way. I love it. It's my other persona. I have different personas. That is one of them. I used to hate my African name, by the way, for the longest time. I used to not like Akinyi. And then I met this friend of mine who was visiting Kenya, and they were like, Akinyi. I'm like, this guy, can you not just call me with my other names? Everybody, I have a creative name, I have an artist name, I have all these names. You just choose to call me Akinyi. And then he sat me down and he was like, there's something about African names, and when I call you like this, there's a representation to it, and there's echoes to that. And so within that, and also just coming to find myself as an African woman and as a creative as well. I think over time, it just faded away. And everywhere I go, either I'll introduce myself as Nile Dawta or Akinyi. I have people who have questioned me, and it still happens a lot of times. Like, I go to places and I say, I am Akinyi Onyach, and they ask me, what is your English name? And now that statement even makes me cringe. Like, I'm not English, so why should I have an English name, So I've had that happening a lot, but I will never, can never, and won't give you my English name. If Akinyi Onyach is not okay for you, take Nile Dawta. If that is not okay, that's it. So I think one of my pivotal moments as I was growing up in Shauri Moyo, and which might have shaped the type of work that I do and the kind of things that I gravitate to, especially with regards to activism, is where I was born. It was just next to Kamukunji Grounds. So Kamukunji Grounds was the hotbed during multipartyism in Kenya during Sabasaba period. And we all know what used to happen. Like, there used to be a lot of, just like the mandamanos that were happening last year, for Kenya to be a multi-party state. And so when I was growing up, I remember very well, because Sabasaba is also my birthday. So I used to ask myself and ask my mom, like, Mom, why is it that every time my birthday is happening, there's tear gas and chaos and running battles, and like, why? What is this thing? Like, a birthday is supposed to be nice, but that is the day that you're tensed. The environment is gloomy. There's tear gas all over the place, because these meetings used to happen at Kamukunji Grounds. And so I think having seen that when I was growing up and for so many years, it instilled kind of like a fighter spirit in me, like a warrior type of spirit. And the best way that I know how to express this is through my work, through my art. Sabasaba is very significant to me, because it was my Earth Day, and also the day that mandamanos and all this chaos used to happen. Oh my goodness, I'm so blessed. I think why I also gravitated towards activism was because of the class divisions that I saw. Like, where I was coming from, it was the hood, it was the ghetto. To experience a different type of life, especially when I went to high school, and minus that, also just the disparity. Like, you're living in Shauri Moyo, we didn't have bathrooms. Kuoga, when you when you remember you want to shower, my goodness, where? And then you remember you want to go for a long call. So what used to happen is there was like two options. Either how we used to shower was, our houses were like a 10 by 10 space. So that is everything. The sitting room, the living room, everything inside that house. And then we used to have like a central public space, that public toilet, which never used to work because they were blocked since I was a child all year round. Like, thinking of going to that was very traumatic. So now what used to happen is the next word, how do you even call it? Like, you cross a barabara like this, a road, and then you go to the next, almost like, it's not a village, but the next section of the estate to take a shower on that side, because that side, their bathrooms used to work and they used to have running water. But it's communal bathrooms. But then when you remember you want to go for a long call or a short call, we thank God for whoever introduced fresh toilets in the hood. It was serious like that. And then you can imagine at night, and it's the hood, and your stomach, you have a running stomach. Let's not go into the nitty-gritties of all that. You see, so coming from a place where basic human needs, basic human decency was not even possible, and then going to high school and having a toilet, facilities, you understand? So it kind of was like, okay, kwani, where am I coming from? Like, where have I been all my life? Like, what type of life have I been living? So that was Shauri Moyo. So, and then with that, and then experiencing now this Sabasaba type of energy, I think it was all just preparing me for something that I even myself did not know at the time. I think my dad, despite the fact that we grew up in the hood, my dad had always kind of socialized us in some way, like had taught us in that, because my dad used to work, my dad was a driver, has been a driver his entire life. So him traveling and seeing new things, when he came back home, he would come with a recipe, and it doesn't matter like pesa ngapi ako nayo, he'll go and buy, hata kama niyo nyama nusu ama quarter, and we'll try that new recipe, and he'll be teaching us how to use, a fork and a knife. He was really socializing us in a way, just like to not be shocked about the world. I remember if he used to like get some little money, he would take us to like, those times kids were allowed in pubs. So he would take us, buy us a Fanta, that big Fanta, the orange Fanta with my brother, and some njugu there, some groundnuts, and we are eating, and him is having his one beer, so that we could just see life, so I think going to high school, as much as it was a culture shock and like there was a shock of every other thing, I still was able to act cool. That one, fake it till you make it. You're like, but you know where you're coming from. Huh? You're acting cool like, hey. But deep down, there's that kind of imposter syndrome. Yeah, but you don't show it. Because also, I went to school outside of Nairobi. So the fact that you're coming from Nairobi also was like a status of it on its own. But now meeting like new facilities and all these things. So I think my dad did a good job in trying to help us socialize easy with the world. And I think when Asema, people from Eastlands like can pretty much survive almost anywhere. I don't know how true that is, but I think we've experienced all bits and parts of life that it's able to acclimate to whatever weather. In high school, my activism side didn't come out much. What came out was my artist side. So that is when I joined the CU, the Christian Union. And then through there was this lady who used to sing. I was in Form 1 and she was in Form 4. And she used to sing, my goodness, like what Molly would sing. She was now leaving school. She was exiting. So now we're asking ourselves, now who is going to cheer praise and worship and praises? And I don't know, I just felt like somebody needed to fill that gap. So I went home during the holidays, and then I was passing through Mudurwa. Those times there were those CDs of 50 bob where they have like an album of pirated albums. So I bought a Makoma CD. Do you remember Makoma? Bought a Makoma CD, and then I went home, and then I practiced with that CD. So when we were opening back school, I didn't even know like I could sing personally. I didn't know like there was a singing bone in me, but I knew I always gravitated towards music, I had those books where you write lyrics. Every Saturday you collected the Nation newspaper and put lyrics. I had a whole book and would fight with my mom like, why can't you have a book of mathematics like this and you have a whole another book of lyrics, So then after practicing for like a whole December holiday, went back to school. Now I was in Form 2. Molly had left. By chance, I just started singing during the praise and worship, and guys were like, hey, kumbe you can sing. And I was like, hey, kumbe I can sing. Okay. And then I was asked to lead another one, and that is how I ended up even like activities that involved creativity and things like that. So in high school, it was more of finding my voice. So from high school, how does life move on? I finished high school. I go to uni. Now I know I can sing, but I'm not doing anything with it. Got called to do actuarial science. I did that, but in the process of my schoolwork, I bump into a group called Coffee. So Coffee was Tuesday curated nice artistic events where guys would come and showcase poetry. And this was at the University of Eldoret. So guys would come and present nice pieces of poetry, acoustic sessions. And then I met a classmate who used to play a bass guitar. I didn't know this at this time. We met in these coffee sessions. So he's like, I heard you can sing. So my boyfriend at the time was telling everybody that my girlfriend can sing. I don't know why, and he used to tell me, babe, you can sing, Can you try this? Just try it. And then he tried to, because he knew this classmate used to play the bass guitar. So he wanted to connect the two of us. So we meet up and he introduces me to other friends, and then we end up creating together. Throughout my university days, apart from being in school, I was either in studio doing background vocals for somebody, or in a band with these friends and classmates, trying to create music, or just jamming with music basically, and just having fun with it. And then we ended up doing a couple of pieces. Well, I ended up doing a couple of pieces of music, and then school ended. And after school ended, I had to come back home and to start now living a normal life. I've gone to school, so now I need to start earning money. So I get my first internship. I was working for some Indian guy in Kirinyaga Road. That was like the most horrific time of my life. This guy would shout for no apparent reason. Shouting like you enter the office and you're tense the entire time until you leave. This guy would shout. I did it for 2 months. And I told my mom, you know what, I don't have children that I'm feeding. I don't have so much responsibilities that I have to stay in this type of environment. I quit. Then did a couple of internships here and there, and then eventually I got into what I studied was underwriting. Pretty much. So I got into insurance. So did that for like 4 years. The long story of it is I quit again. After 4 years. Why the urge to quit again after like getting a stable job, pensionable? My parents were proud of me because I started at an internship level, did my 6 months, got to like a junior claims officer, did another 1 year, got to underwriting. So like I was progressing very nicely. My salary was like increasing pole pole. My dad was really proud, and now my salary is pensionable. I have NSSF, NHIF, I have a medical cover. Like, now I'm setting myself up for life. But there was always something that felt amiss, especially sorry for guys who work in offices. Some of us need to be in offices. Some of us, we can't all fit in the offices. And I was the percentage that could not fit in the office because from my style, my hair, how I want to, it was very gloomy in the office. And apart from that, something just felt off. And I had already created music. And then previously, one of my internships was around things to do with young people and finding your voice. So I had already done that for like maybe 3 months, and I had seen how young people were discovering their voices and these things. But I'm now stuck in an office for close to 4 years. I have music, and I was keeping work every now and then, go and play music. I met this guy who was a producer. We fell in love, and then we created a lot of music. In the process of making love, we made music, a lot of good music. And then when I had so much music, I was like, this is good, man. I can now live. So during the weekends and like my time off and the time I used to go see him and spend at his place, we were making music. I think now that made me fall in love with music even the more, because like seeing someone and adoring them and then seeing what you guys can co-create together and then co-creating good music. So it was like, this is it. This 8 to 5, don't see it happening anymore. So one day I skipped work again, going to my 2 shows in the afternoon, and then I was given a warning letter. And then I was like, you guys, even before you were done giving me warning letters, I had drafted my resignation like 2 months ago. It was just there on my desktop. I was looking at it every day. Hey, I woke up that day and went and served them counter-served them with my resignation letter. And that is how I did I served for like another month and I left. I had some money and a boyfriend who were making music. I had love, music, and a bit of savings. I was legally clueless for sure. Oh my word. That was my exit plan. So yeah, I quit my job. Didn't tell my parents for a year. And then when my dad found out, he didn't speak to me for a good while. But I can understand why he didn't speak to me for a good while. Like coming from where we're coming from and having struggled to like put a child through school. And now they've gotten a good job and they're able to like make something of themselves. And they're choosing this path that you don't even understand, It's daunting to a parent. After I quit work, went and tried to cohabit with my producer lover. I invited myself to his house. Because I knew in my head, like, see, this is the next plan. Now we've been doing music. We've gotten bits and pieces of shows. So now if we package this thing properly and give it the right energy to enter Sisi. Those are not the plans he had. So that didn't work out. I don't know his plans. What were? It just, the fact that we even tried to stay together for 2 months was just too much for the both of us. It didn't work out. Like, it was nice when we were seeing each other, not so often. But now I didn't have a place to go. I didn't have like an 8 to 5. Yes, I had savings, but I didn't want to go and rent and finish on my savings. So I was like, I'm going to move in with you and then we're going to figure this thing out. And then I guess that is where now everybody just started showing their true colors. And it stopped being nice, stopped being fun. I was like, I can't continue living like this. And then I told my brother and my best friend at the time. And my brother told me, you don't worry, you just let me know what you decide and we go from there. My best friend told me, twende tutafute nyumba saizi. We went and looked for a house. My brother came with his pickup and the little money he had. We packed all my things from his house and left. Went to start life. But at that point, I went into depression because I had no idea what I was going to do next, because all my music was associated with this person. So now we're not into contact, and I still love him. My heart is breaking, and my heart is breaking also for the music. And I thought I had figured this out because I quit a well-paying job to do music. And my parents don't know. Only my brother knows. They think I wake up and go to work because I had already moved out of home. So they have no idea. So the only people who know is my brother. Mind you, I'm the firstborn, so he's younger than me. But that is my solid rock of ages. I'm paying rent now, but clearly I'm depleting my savings. So then I end up needing to do other things to make ends meet. So I get into writing and transcriptions, but it's not making a lot of money. Plus the time I was spending on it was so much, and I'm not now creating the music. And I don't even have this music because this guy has refused to give me the music, and he's saying if I'm not with him, then I cannot do that music by myself. So I have nothing. Why was he refusing with my music? I think also for him, from a perspective of the time, the work that we had put in, and for me to just collect it and go. So he needed to show me like, bro, So his terms were either I pay him for the production work he's done for me to give me everything, or I forget about everything. But I don't have this money. It's not like I'm working. So I had to come clean to my parents. I told them what was going on. By this time, I was so depressed. I was so depressed. And then I just packed up and went to live with my maternal grandmother in the village. I just went and stayed with my grandmother. I was really depressed. I think the only constant thing, and since I found music, was music. And so now somebody's telling me all the work I've put in, I can't use it. I can't do nothing with it. And then there were also somebody that I really loved. So my heart is breaking twice. So I was just like, mi naenda ushago. You know. Literally. Nikaenda ushago. Used to wake up and just chill under the tree. And my grandmother never told me anything. She never said nothing. She didn't talk. She was just looking at me. You know, those episodes where you're just like, sana do. Naenda. What direction am I taking with my life? My savings are almost over because I've been living for a year plus. Yeah, so we were just chilling there. She's the one feeding me. I should be the one helping her out. I was there for close to 3 months maybe. And then the music found me again. She was like, Nile Dawta, pick yourself up, baby. No, this is not you. No. If we made that, we can make it again. Turudi Nairobi. Came back to Nairobi. And then my grandmother was kind of like the mediator between me and my folks. Yeah, she tried talking to my dad, and he was like, this child, she's not using drugs. She's just following what she likes. She has no idea still, but just give her the grace. Came back to Nairobi. My brother was actually helping me pay part of the rent, so I had not moved out from my place. So I was paying some of it, he was paying some of it. So went back to my place, and then I was like, you know what, this guy, I'm gonna show him. I had some bit of money here and there. I remembered Daniel was my bassist, who we were in the same class with in campus. So I reached out to Daniel. I told him, I have some music that I would love now to play, to put up a band together and do something. And then Daniel tells me, but you remember also Sammy, my brother, is a guitarist. So let's reach out to Sammy and see if we can work something out. We reach out to Sammy, and Sammy's like, it's reggae music, let's do it. And then I reach out to another friend who reaches out to another friend. And by the time the week is over, I have a full band. And I'm not even paying anybody. Everybody's just excited to do this thing with me. And so we come together, we start rehearsals for a month, and then my parents eventually agree to support kidogo, so they pay part of the rehearsals and things like this. And then we put up a show. We put up a show after by the end of that month, we gave ourselves a target. We're gonna put up a show, and the turnout was amazing. Everybody I knew, we were making phone calls to friends and family, and everybody in the band just trying to get 5 or 10 people. And we played our first show at Power 254 back when it was at the rooftop somewhere in State House Road. That was so affirming to me. So affirming. It gave me a lease of new life. The life and the energy that was pumped back in me again was whoa, that is now when I professionally became a musician from that point on. So why reggae music is because this ex-love of mine introduced me to reggae music. And then when I started analyzing reggae music, it gave me a sense of identity as a Black woman. Plus the music, he introduced me to a lot of Rastafari teachings. He introduced me to a lot of self-awareness as a Black woman and a lot of reasonings. And so when I met these reasonings, plus the type of music that I was already creating, it made perfect synergy, like perfect sync. It made perfect sync. And because I used to go to studio and guys were telling me, we need you to write a song that is like hyped and this. And my music is very chilled, very slow, very provocative also, like in terms of reasonings and thematic areas that I use. Like my first song that I wrote was about political unrest in the country. That has always been like the type of work that I gravitate towards. So when I made reggae music, it synced perfectly with how I was now understanding myself as a woman, as a Black woman, and as a Black creative. Plus the drum and bass and the lyrics, sets me on a whole frequency. And that's peace. My first piece, how did that come about? I just heard 2 words and I wrote a song. And these 2 words were, I don't want to be. Period. So the lyrics are like, I don't want to be where you are. I don't want to stand where you stand, because everything that you're preaching is lies. You know, it's about politicians and all these things they tell us every day. Part of the videography was from Andamano, from Sabasaba, where guys were being beaten with these big clubbers and things like this. So I think it has always been inside me. It's not something I try to look for. It's just, it comes very easy. Comes very easy when I write music that is towards a certain cause. Comes so easy to me. At what point does it start to make financial sense? I think sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, until today. Until today, still trying to bridge that gap, but slowly is making sense. I wouldn't say I've always done this music because it paid me. I think I've done it, number one, also, and why I call myself a Nile Dawta. So my grandmother was a singer. I never met her, and I'm named after her, and she used to sing a lot in the church. Her spirit and her energy is very potent in me, in how I move, in how I do my things, in how I see the earth, how I see the world. And we crazy, but we are really in communication, me and her, a lot. I can't even explain it. Like, she's on my altar and we chill a lot. We talk a lot. She guides me a lot. Her energy, I feel her a lot. I get goosebumps when I start talking about her. So it's these things that you can't explain, but it's part of you. It's part of your DNA, your structure, and your makeup. She's part of my makeup. And I never met her. And actually, that is the point where my dad stopped bugging me about music, because I told her, like, you should have picked another name before you named me your mom. She won't let me rest in peace, because now I have to do these things and I have to create music. I have to, like, it's a bagging feeling. It's like, there is something you need to do. There is something you need to do. And it's just at the back of my head. And until I do it, I have no peace. So some things are ancestral. Where I come from, it's called Juogi. Juogi is like spirits, is I don't know how to explain it, but it's like a possession. Why was I digressing? But to give you context as to why music has never been about money for me. How maybe the easiest way to put it would be like, my hands look like my mom's, and her hands would look like her mom's. You understand? So it's a genetic imprint. Just because somebody has transitioned to become an ancestor does not mean that their genetic memory does not exist in me or in the generations after this person. They say, like, the ovaries of my grandchildren are already in me. Like, I have 3 generations too. I call it ovum and ovum again. So then that ovum is still manifested in me. Like, these things, they are there, you know too, and that is how it is. Genetic memory, genetic imprints, and it's just honoring and appreciation of our lineages and where we come from. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. It is an army of people and things and places that we can use to our advantage. It's just knowing how to tap into that. And so my grandmother is a pivotal part of my journey and of my creative process. So music for me has never really been about what we are making at the end of the day. Of course, that is also equally important, but it's been about what needs to be said. Grateful that I get to be that vessel to share and to walk in spaces that she would have never, even if she imagined, she would have never. And to be that representation of her, to see, because music has allowed me to see, to walk, to experience things that I would have never done sitting in an office, to travel, to experience different peoples and cultures and expressions. It's with her. And I was thinking about it, I think yesterday actually. Last year, about a year ago or so, I was performing at this festival in Kilifi. It's called Kilifi New Year's. And so after the performance, we went on a cruise door ride with a couple of friends, and I got really emotional, and I was crying the entire sunset, though it's supposed to be nice and romantic and beautiful and people taking pictures in the middle of, and I was crying, and because the sail sheet, it's called a sheet, this big sheet that is used to navigate the ship, the door, it was drawn the picture of Mekatilili wa Mwenza. And so when I saw that picture, it struck a chord inside me, and it was like I can imagine what women who came before us went through and what was their story like. My grandmother came to me, and just me having sailed the ocean like this and coming from where I come from, which is like western part of Kenya, and doing the work I do, and for her, even if she wanted to, she would have never experienced such things, no matter how much she wanted to. And so me, as a representation of not just her but the women who came before us, was so emotional for me. And so I ended up just crying the entire time. What makes up my altar? I mentioned about my altar. All the elements: air, fire, water, earth, and spirit. It's the same way like they have in the Catholic Church. Like they have the candles for the fire, and they have like the water for the blessings, right? They usually have water, and then they have flowers to represent the element of the earth, and they have spirit represented by either the pictures of the Messiah, whatever, or like the cross, which is spirit. So it's just a replica of that, because we exist in all these elements. We have air, we have water, we have fire, we have spirit. Is like the avatar. So my altar is consisting of a candle, which is fire; spirit, which is the Ankh cross, represented by that; and then earth. I have crystals for that, which represents Mother Earth. And then I have water, of course, like a baptismal bowl. Don't wait for nobody to baptize me. I baptize myself. Bless myself every day. Bless you, Nile Dawta. More blessings. You know how they do it in the church. They like pour this water on you, like bless you, bless. No, I'm the one who does it for myself. And then there's incense, of course, which is air. I have like a sound bowl, which is also the spirit, the element of air. So it's just normal things. And then I also have like pictures. I have a picture of myself. So there's a book that I use also to guide my journey. It's called Sacred Woman by Queen Afua. So Sacred Woman takes us through all the gateways or principles of life. So by this I mean sacred word, how we speak; sacred food, what we ingest; sacred movement, how we move our bodies, our lives, and everybody around us. So it's just like exercise, eat well, all these things. So these gateways, it's a whole if you know Queen Afua, big up on yourself to all the sacred women out there. But yeah, so that is the guide with this. And then you need like a spiritual guide. So my spiritual guide is my grandmother, my ancestor. And then you need like yourself also. You have to be the center of it. And then a contemporary, someone you look up to, like an elder first, someone you look up to, whether it's you want to improve in terms of your health, food you eat. Who do you know that eats quality food, or is like, who do you know that moves accordingly? Who do you know that has relationships that are positive and a good influence to you? So that would be the representation of that. So you are echoing like their energy to also guide you in that. And then a contemporary would be person in your age group that is also moving in accordance to how you would like to move. So that is what is composed of my altar. Yes, but I'm the center of it. So the activism in me, as I've said, these lyrics come so easy to me. I think through the type of music that I wrote, I ended up finding myself in spaces that of people who are like-minded and speak about these things and push towards certain causes. So I found myself in Power 254. I found myself like in different art spaces that encourage these types of voices, right? And so through there was a time my music was used for like different campaigns. And so being around such creatives who are doing activist work and over again, just it kept building up. And last year we did a project. It's called Project Black Woman. So Project Black Woman was supported by Hiva Fund and the French government. And so what we did was I wrote a piece called Black Woman, celebration of all Black daughters and sisters out there. What happened for Black Woman was I wrote it to, number one, celebrate Black sisters. Number two, encourage an aunt of mine who had been incarcerated during COVID time. So it was like a livication to her. Then I asked myself, like, how do I want to release this music? I didn't just want to put it out for the sake of putting music out. So in 2023, I think, we did a music video for it, and then my aunt was already out, and then we did a campaign to rally for sanitary kits for women prisoners, because I asked, like, when she was in there, and she was telling me, and during COVID, and the focus, like, people forgot about, there was no visits, there was nothing, like, people forgot about everything else apart from PPEs and being safe and trying to survive COVID. So you can imagine you're in prison, so what does that look like? And furthermore, sanitary kits or dignity kits in prisons mostly is supported by well-wishers. So now attention has shifted from all these other normal workings of life. It's just COVID now. So even the little that they were getting is no longer there. And my aunt used to tell me, like, either you use a piece of cloth, mattress. Yeah, it's bad. So we were like, what we're going to do with this art piece, we're going to run a campaign to collect donations to support women in prison through their menstrual health management. So just celebrating that Black sisters, regardless of whatever they have done, just a reminder that it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, menstrual health is mental health. So these people need to be okay regardless of their backgrounds. And so through that, we did it for like 2 years, and then in 2024 we got help, we got a grant for it, and then from that we were able to travel to do a tour within 3 counties. So we did Mombasa, Nakuru, and Kisumu, and just doing free artistic showcases where we were not charging entrance fee. The only entrance fee was either you come with a panty, a tissue paper, a bar soap, or a packet of pads, and then we go together and do like a CSR in prison. And that was like amazing. That was like, of all the things I've done with my work, I think that was like the epitome of the work we do. And to see how people are willing, and because everybody remembers school kids, women in informal settlements, and they all need this support, but rarely do we sit and think, okay, women in prison, they also need pads. So yeah, we ended up doing Project Black Woman throughout the better part of last year. It's amazing to just see even how the men were like ready to support, and the donations we got. In one incident, I think when we were at Kisumu Women's Prison, one of the babies was celebrating their birthdays, and we had come with cake and whatnot, and it was so emotional. And they were turning 1. They've never been outside. They were locked. They were born inside the institution and things like this. So yeah, that is part of now the whole spectrum of my work around gender activism. Just other than that, we started a community. It's called Sound Sisters KE, a group that celebrates, supports, and gives space to women in sound engineering and sound technology, non-binary identifying people. Sound Sisters is a place where women can come and do, like the setups they do in stages, and like there's the front line, the back line, the sound, because I also have experience in live music. So there's not so many women doing sound here in Kenya, and so we have that also going on. Hey, what keeps me going? My grandmother. She keeps me going. She keeps me going because I'm not here just to represent me. As like I move every day and even just walk right now to go to the next place that I'm going, I'm carrying women, and of course men have played a pivotal part, because especially from my upbringing in Rasta, we say she for he for she, because I wouldn't have been here if not for my dad, of course. But I think women, I don't know, women are just amazing. And my grandmother, my ancestor grandmother is one of her. I'm just here to represent a voice that was never heard. Have fun while at it, and have a good time while at it, because I also don't believe in suffering. We've suffered enough. Oh, Black women, we've suffered enough. It is enough. That is enough. So having a good time while at it, enjoying life, and yeah, better manifestations for all of us pretty much, but more so for the Black sisters out there. You're not just representing yourself as you move. There's a whole generations that came for you just to be here, and there's more to come even after you. So the fact that you're here is motivation enough, because it goes to show how the universe has orchestrated your happening. So love it, baby. Enjoy it and make the most out of it.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless. What an incredible story. I feel like Nile Dawta just has this infectious, inspiring light of energy, and you can just hear it through her voice and her laughter. And I think what really stayed with me is how ancestry and spirit are so deeply woven into her path. You know, when she spoke about her grandmother guiding her, I really felt that, because I've said it before here. I too have an ancestral altar. And for me, when she was talking about there's just this ancestral or genetic knowledge you have that you do not even know where it came from, I really felt that. I don't believe I've shared it on this podcast before, or even with anyone outside of two people in my life. But here goes, right? I never knew how to put together an ancestral altar. How I started, I didn't even know what I was doing. I wasn't conscious that this was what I was doing. Let me explain. So years ago, I'm setting up my home office. I start having this strong love for candles. This did not exist before, friends. It didn't exist before. So I have a bunch of candles in my office. And then I think, because I've just quit my job and I'm so scared, I'm diving into the unknown. No one around me has done what I'm doing, so I can't fully lean on them. I want to have a reminder of my mother near me. And so I take my favorite picture of my late mom and I put it next to my candles. I think at the time I had 2 candles. Anyway, put it next to my candles. And then I read somewhere about burning incense helping anxiety. So I say, you know what, I'm going to start doing that, because I was really, if you have been listening to the podcast from the beginning, you know I was like navigating anxiety. So I find this older woman who lives not too far from me, and she has frankincense that she gets from, I think, northern Kenya, if I'm not wrong. And I start burning this frankincense, and I put a burner right next to the candle and the picture of my mom. And then I just find myself, listen, this, I know it sounds so weird, but I promise, please trust me. I find myself saying my desires out loud whenever I light the candles. I don't know why I'm doing it, but it calms me down. And I start saying things like, if something or someone is not meant for me, remove it from my path. And then I start saying, may only that which is mine find me. And I'm just like on this journey of like trying to get closer to my truest self. I do not know how I start putting a little bakuli, what's bakuli? Bowl of water there. And then I start following, and I'm drawn generally to women and African women who are very spiritual. I start following one, and she does this Substack article about an ancestral altar, and I'm reading it and I'm just like, what the fuck? This is exactly what I have on my office desk. And I didn't even know what I was doing. I just kind of was, putting one thing after the other for whatever reasons at the time. And I tell this friend of mine this, who she's super spiritual and has been since I've known her all my life. And she's like, yeah, that there is innate knowledge within you because you're not made up of only you. In your lineage, there's so many women who came before you, so much knowledge that has passed from one to the other, and now in you. And I just began honoring that to the point where I don't even talk about it publicly as much. I really don't, because it's for me to understand. It's part of my spiritual hygiene. I don't want to invite judgment or weird energy because it's not for you to understand. It's not even for you to judge. It's for me and whoever is going to come after me in my lineage. I also then started appreciating my talents. I write so easily when it comes to poetry. I mean, it's difficult when I'm writing, but like it comes to me so naturally. Actually, the word is naturally, not easily. So I honor that and I write. I write even when I'm fighting through a writer's block. I write because then I'm like, in my lineage, I was given this gift for a reason. I don't know what it is. I was given this gift for a reason and I'm going to use it. I have an inclination that part of the reason is healing work because I feel very drawn to that. But I honor the talents because it moves me closer to what my role in my lineage is. I have a way of talking to people very easily. People open up to me very easily. I am patient. I don't know how to hold grudges. I used to look at that as a weakness. It's not. I love hard and I know my love is very healing. And I look at it in many ways, but one is these are the things that in my lineage were given specifically to me. I must honor my lineage by living them loud. Do you get what I'm saying? And so hearing Nile Dawta talk about these things, I was just like, ooh, love it. I felt it. I truly felt it. So honestly, that part in her story really just resonated with me and really moved me. But if her story moved you as well, if there's something that you connected with, I would love to hear about it. Please drop it in the comments section and just let me know. And share this episode with someone who you think needs to hear it. Maybe someone at the crossroads of choosing between stability and purpose, or someone learning to trust their spiritual path, right? And don't forget to officially join our community. Sign up on our website, legallycluelessafrica.com. You will get letters from me, letters from sometimes our events lead, Mercy. So yeah, there are treats every week from us there. If you want to share your story on this podcast, fill out our storyteller form. A link is in the show notes. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. Just search Legally Clueless Africa. And until next time, thank you so much for listening to this episode to the very end. I truly appreciate you. And I believe that you have every single thing it takes to heal. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.